Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about troubleshooting your app if it got denied. So whether it got denied on Apple or Google, they tend to have similar rules or reasons as to why it got denied, especially if your app was approved on one but not the other. It's like, oh, it's probably a little thing, but especially if it's disapproved on both, it's like, oh, we definitely violated some kind of major rule. So in this video, I'm going to be going through a help article that we've already compiled and you can access, but kind of just walking you through and explaining the reasoning behind everything. So again, in this video, we're going to talk about why your app got denied, and then at the end, we'll also talk about resubmitting your app to iPhone and Android. All right, so first off, I'm just going to read this. Why was my app denied? Well, basically, it's because you didn't comply with one of their guidelines or policies. And if you would like to, you can review the guidelines and policies of Apple and Google Play right here. You would have agreed to these policies when you created your account, but they would have denied your app if you violated any of your policies. And we highly recommend going through and reading them just so you kind of have a good idea of what to expect when it comes to Apple and Android. So the first thing, the biggest reason that your app probably might have got denied is the design portion of it. So as I talked about in one of the previous videos right before you submitted your files to Apple and Android, I talked about in a video that I like to call like the, well, I actually have a name for it written right over on this sticky note. I called it the don't have a crappy app submission video. So that's what I call it in my internal notes, but go ahead and look back on that. But basically, when it comes to the design, Apple and Android want you to create something that's simple, refined, innovative, easy to use, and you're having a bit of a reflection on their app stores. And so they want you, as I mentioned in the previous video, to have customers come back on a regular basis. So do design your app to be constantly updated with new content, set up push notifications, or like say in your app, hey, make sure you've got push notifications turned on so we can notify you about this, this, and this, and be creative and come up with like a unique idea for your app that's going to be really impactful and influential for your clients and customers and prospects. But don't design your app with little functionality or plagiarize or copy any current apps or have the main purpose of the app be like linking to a website. Like I talked about, this is the main reason your app will get denied, is either there's not enough content in your app, there's just a bunch of links to websites in your app, or number three is there's no reason for people to come back and use your app on a regular basis. Apple and Android are really looking for top quality apps in their app store, and you need to be, as a business owner, or maybe you own an organization, or whatever it is you do, you need to be putting something out into the world that has significant value and that people will want to use on a regular basis. So consider that. All right. That's the biggest reason it would have got rejected. And what I highly suggest you do is go back and perhaps take a look at where maybe instead of links out to other websites or pages, you could have that content in your app, or maybe how you can engineer it where there's different things to do in the app. Like it says here, maybe there's a page for articles and videos and podcasts, and maybe there's a quiz in the app or stuff like this, right? There's all sorts of things you can do. The second thing, though, that it might have got disapproved for is payments. So I cover all things payments in actually video 2 of our onboarding sequence, so definitely go ahead and watch that. Basically, long story short, is if you're trying to sell some sort of digital good inside of your app, Apple and Android generally don't like that. So go ahead and watch that video for more info on things like payments. And then I also cover in that video things like such as sensitive apps with health conditions and research and kids and this sort of stuff. But a few other important things to note is screenshots. Screenshots are required to be part of uploading your app to Apple and Android, and a few key tips are screenshots should show the app in use and not merely like the title or art or login page or splash screen. Like Apple ideally wants you to show in the screenshots that how the app is actually being used. And so you don't want to put anything misleading or anything like that, and that might be another reason that your app got denied. These are the most common ones that we've seen thus far. And I will mention that if there's anything on this list that perhaps you feel is Apple and Android will tell you why your app got denied. So if they tell you why your app got denied and it's not on this list, please send us an email. Go to support.22apps.com or email us at support@22apps.com and just say, my app got denied in the subject line. And we're going to be happy to help. We want to make sure that we cover all of our bases when it comes to creating and uploading apps that get approved every single time. So make sure you go through that as it will be very, very, very important. Then in terms of if you do file an appeal, like if you go ahead and you update everything in your app and you're going to go ahead and resubmit it or file an appeal, the first thing I'll talk about is, I guess, appealing. Is if you feel that your app is totally within the guidelines, like they disapprove your app, but you're like, no, there's no way it's out of the guidelines. I'm just going to read this to you. Basically, you want to be super clear and concise in your response and try to provide as much detail as possible. For example, one of our clients got her app disapproved for having too much content around health without necessarily backing up her claims. And she went into detail about how she is an expert in this health area and has all these certifications to be able to make those claims herself, right? Because they thought she was making up claims without providing evidence as to where they came from that were pretty bold. So, which is one of the things that I talk about in the other video about bold claims. So you definitely want to be able to provide as much detail as possible if you're going to say, basically say, no, what I sent you is actually really good. So to appeal a review from Apple, just go to Apple Store Connect and navigate to Apple's review of your app, and then you can submit your response, and that response will be in review. And then to appeal from Google, basically you can just follow this link to provide an appeal. Then when it comes to resubmitting your app, I'm going to talk about that right now, which is to resubmit your app. It's super, super simple. It's like the exact same thing as you did the first time. And I'll just read this off here so you know. Basically, resubmitting your app files is only necessary for two possible reasons. One, if Apple or Android denies your app and you need to re-upload that file. And number two, if there's a major software update to iOS or Android devices, you may need to resubmit your app. But in general, like, you don't really need to resubmit it. You can just use our instant approval system where you don't need to create a new build of your app every single time. You can just push it out with Expo, and that build will become available, which is what I talk about in my how to update your app after it gets approved on Apple and Google video. That said, how to resubmit your app is you just go through the same exact process. You're going to resubmit it through Apple and Google and create the new IPA and APK files. And then you can go ahead and republish your app exactly the same as you would by going through here in step 3 of publishing your apps to Apple and Google. So it's exactly the same process. You just do it again. So, and if you have any trouble with this kind of stuff, like uploading to Apple and Google, you can actually email or call their support teams and get help with that, because they're always happy to make sure that they have the best quality apps on the App Store, and they're going to help you get on it. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I hope this gives you some reasons or some ideas as to why your app might have got denied, and definitely go ahead and check out that other video that I did. That would be video 2 in the onboarding sequence, so that you can kind of start figuring out, oh, I need to change these things about my app so that it gets approved on Apple and Android. So with that said, I hope this has been fantastic. I hope this has been wonderful. And I look forward to seeing that app get uploaded very, very, very soon. And be sure to post about it in the Facebook group. Looking forward to it. Bye for now.